Father's Day Sunday. I'm good. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
To all the fathers out there.
Definitely.
I don't want
I
any
appreciate
credit.
y'all. Yeah, hey, no, don't do that.
I don't want any credit.
Thank you. Let us have our day.
Because I can never be a man. Don't want to be.
High five. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. Go ahead, man. Let your team plug. You know, let them plug.
All right, let's get some plugs
in real quick.
Not the plugs that they got in prison. We on some other stuff.
Real plugs.
Right.
Legit plugs.
Hey, yo, just to let y'all know.
Oh, hold on. Can I? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Guys, the drug to junkie ratio has changed.
Damn.
Big time.
So find a new occupation. I'm just saying.
Listen, man. I mean, I ain't even want to bring that up. He started it though.
Right.
But listen, I ain't gonna say nothing about that. But he right though. God damn, like damn, ain't no drugs. They done bought all the shit up. But listen, I need to plug my man though. My manager, man, Jabari, man. Listen, he did a bit too. He part of Uncuff, so he gotta get plugged, man. You know, he was in Outback.
Yeah.
Annex. Yeah. Is he in camera range? You gotta get in camera range, man.
I should be.
The ladies love you.
Camera range.
They love to
Tell them kneel down by you.
kneel down a little bit by me.
Okay, yeah, we in camera range now.
Jabari.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so look, we gonna plug. I mean, you know, they gonna plug themselves. Let's go.
What's up? It's Sincere. Singer, lyricist, you know. You can find me on Instagram.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome to Sunset Soul. I am your host. Can you hear me? I'm your host, Love Dawn. I got with me here Miss Lisha G.
Hey.
Mr. Nate. Oh, y'all gotta do better. Mr. Nate from the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Hey.
And Miss Naomi from Be Inspired.
Hey
Thank
everybody,
you.
how are y'all doing tonight?
They not doing. Listen. First of all, I hope everybody's having an awesome Thursday. Today's the last day of the month. It is like it's done. We're in September basically. Like tomorrow we're gonna be in September.
I can't even
believe it.
I can't wait because children just been walking around the streets just creating havoc.
I mean, because they know it's about to be a wrap for them. Like they go back to school.
They
got a whole nother week though.
No.
They got a whole extra week.
Oh right.
Oh, they did.
But did they cut the what is that, spring break?
No.
When I went spring break,
it's 10 days. Yeah, 10. But
well, we need clarification because when I went to the school website, spring break started on a Thursday. It was like a Wednesday or Thursday. Went through the weekend, and they went back to school like that next Wednesday.
So is this for the next school, the new school?
For the 2018?
Really?
But that's for because of the teacher days, the teacher development days. They have to take in consideration of those because children were missing too much school because of those development days.
But you can't cut that spring break.
Right,
like we have plans for spring break.
Yeah.
So I need to know if that's the case or if it's an actual week or not because we're trying to.
That is a week.
I mean a full week because if you're going on vacation, you're going to probably go on vacation from Sunday to Sunday or Monday to Saturday, not like Thursday.
Usually you would get like Friday until that Monday, that next following
Friday
Monday.
was like
a Good Friday before Easter.
So
wow.
I don't.
It doesn't seem that way. So last week show we discussed depression in the church. I went back the next day and watched the show just to make sure. You know how you know how you're here, but it's different when you go home and look at the show and all that. So I had a lot of questions. So I'm actually really glad that we did decide to do a part 2 because I don't feel like it was clear for me last week that the conversation was not completed.
It wasn't over.
Huh?
It felt like 2 weeks ago.
But it wasn't. I'm just saying.
That's because he missed you.
He did. That's what he should have said. Guys always got to talk around about. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't complete. So when I went home and I watched the show, I felt like, okay, yes, I can see. Mm-hmm. We had Bishop Monk with us last week, and it was he offered a great insight from the bishop's perspective, from the leader, the overseer of the fellowship's perspective. He came in, Bible open, notes. He studied that thing, and it wasn't like he had a lot of time to really prepare. Once I gave him the topic, he kind of had to go for it. So I thank him for the information that he brought to us. I will say, though, that when I went back and watched it, it just kind of, for lack of a better word, just made my point that much clearer. That having that much wisdom right in front of me in a 2-hour time span with knowledge of what we're going to speak on ahead of time, even if it was only a day's notice, I should have had more clarity. And that's not what we're getting, in my opinion, from the churches. We're not getting clear-cut answers of what do you do when you have this heavy depression over you. Okay,
is it a clear-cut answer?
I don't think it is one. I will say that.
And you're looking for answers from people who are going through the same life scenarios that you're going through. And I don't think it's always, and that was my point last week, I don't think it's always fair to blame the church when they don't have all the answers or the resources. Because even with resources, you still going, it's a circle, because you're going to the therapist and they not answering your questions. So who do you go back to? You go back to the church, and then it becomes a cycle. Some stuff you just have to live through and just get the lesson from that. And you're not always going, somebody can't always get you through something. It just has to be lived through, or patience, or whatever have you. Sorry, I thought I had it in my mind and it just came out crazy.
Did you, when you watched the show, did you see anything that you felt like we should kind of address again?
I think we were on to something in general with our conversation, especially when we started to talk about the symptoms that people go through and how they hide. I think we probably should spend a little bit more time on discussing what hiding looks like in the church, because we touched on it. We said it's the silent killer, but what does that really mean?
Right.
I don't think we expounded on that very much, and I think we should.
There's a call.
Okay.
I hear nothing on my end.
Hello.
I can hear on here.
Hello. Hi. What's your
name?
Put them on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, how you doing? This Hollywood.
Oh, hey.
Hey, what's going on?
Can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you. It's like, but I was calling in reference to what you were saying about the church and how the pastors or the leaders are not actually telling what's going on. And I believe a lot of leaders now, they're sugarcoating everything.
They're sugarcoating, yeah.
And that's the thing. And they're more worried about how people are going to feel and how, like, just I don't know. It's just like they're looking at it differently. But when you sugarcoat things, you're not really sending the message out.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah, that.
Can you hear me?
That part hit me.
Yeah, I think for me, sugarcoating is the exact opposite of what we need to do, because people are dying. I mean, they're in need of attention. They're in need of the truth. And to sugarcoat is, clearly that's not going to get your answer. If anything, it's going to make the situation worse, because they're going to make them feel like if you're ashamed or you feel like it's not worth discussing or you don't want to talk about, then something is wrong with me. There's still something wrong, because I want an answer. There must be a reason. There's a reason why somebody wants to sugarcoat and not want to tell the truth about the matter.
Well, sometimes we don't always have an answer. And I think we have to start saying that. I don't always have an answer, but let's find a way to get you an answer or get you a little bit clarity, because it may not be a clean-cut answer to what it is that you're looking for, but we just have to start being more honest about things, especially in the church.
But I think part of that is the individuals that you're speaking on make up a very small percentage of the people that are actively seeking answers. The majority of the people are smiling through it, or they're in a haze, or they're overcompensating for it. That person that you're speaking about is a very small minority in congregations or just in life in general. Most of us grit our teeth through it. And we just go through life and we hide because people want to feel normal. They don't want to feel like something's wrong. And for us as black people, we've always tried to cover it up. Because I got to be strong. I can't show a weakness. X, Y, Z. And then when you are a woman and you're a mother, you definitely got to hide it. You're supposed to, quote unquote, hide it, because how can I, I'm not going to be the best. As a man, I can't show any sign of weakness. So I got to hide it. And we're expecting answers from people who are human beings. Like we I know I keep saying that, but we can't expect
you're fading in and out,
whether they're ordained or anointed or not, to feel that, to have that answer. Because some of them are still looking for it. You can't get that answer from studying in a textbook.
Right.
You can get the calm, the listening skills.
Nate,
you
get
fading
all those
out. Things from a textbook, but
you're fading out.
Wait a minute, Nate. He said you're fading in and out.
I think
it's it's the signal, she said.
But this Bishop Monk himself, it took him 40-some years to get the wisdom that he had. He didn't get that his first day on the job. Exactly. And some people, it's a learning lesson, it's a curve that goes into it. They're not gonna always have it. And our pastors are getting younger and younger now.
Yes, right.
So they gotta live through something. For me, I think it should be a certain age. You shouldn't Pastor Jamal Bryant, if he's not a certain age, I don't think you should be able to become. Like, if your father or mother had it, I don't think it should just automatically pass down to you. I think you should have a certain age range or a certain level of experience.
Not without the proper training.
Yeah, with the proper training.
I think it has more to do with the training or the lack of training for a lot of leadership. When you're talking about addressing issues in the church. And a lot of pastors, there are plenty of pastors, and we talked about this last week, who start churches and the foundation is not necessarily community based or about the people. And so when you have ministers and preachers like that, or people who haven't gotten proper trainings, they don't know, and they're not going to be able to properly deal with your issues. So it has a lot to do with the training and making sure that pastors are equipped when they get up and say, I'm getting ready to open a church. But the catch-22 is we can't control that either. We can't tell somebody they can't put a church up if they don't have the proper training. But if you are a leader and you know better, to me, you should be offering the training that helps to equip leaders to deal with issues like that.
Before we go to a commercial, though, Damon, are you still here, Hollywood?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, because they said the signal might be the reason why you might have to hang up and call back.
Okay.
But if you can hear it, then fine. That's just what they said before. But
just come by.
Or yes, just come on by. But because we're focusing on the leader, the bishop, the pastor, putting things in position to help those in depression. But a lot of these people who are dealing with depressions are the pastor, the leader, and themselves.
Right.
So they are human beings. So the question is, not only that, you have to be aware of what it is for yourself. Before anybody else, because you have these pastors, as we said last week, who are committing suicide.
Well, it goes back to these pastors not believing that it's okay to receive counsel from those around them. There's a lot of pastors that put elders in place, but
Damon, it's the signal is messed up. You might have to hang up and dial back. Okay.
They put elders in place, but they're not open enough to hear what they have to say. They're elders for a reason.
Right.
So a lot of times these pastors, you don't want to go outside of your circle because you don't want to look weak.
Right.
You don't want to go up because you're trying to impress your quote-unquote father.
Right.
That's what you have the people around you for. And if you're making them leaders, elders, ministers, allow them to minister to you. That's why they're there to cover. When you look at Moses, Moses was trying to do all the work.
Yeah.
And his father-in-law said, "Wait, stop. You need to appoint some people to do some of that stuff." And if we start to acknowledge the fact that we can't do everything, like there is no superhero, there's no mastermind. There is no one mastermind. A mastermind is created by putting a group of people together and emphasizing on their strengths.
But we know that in looking at a lot of these churches, that is not built up that way. It's a lot of churches with elders, with people in leadership that are put there because maybe the pastor never had a child, so they put a parent in charge of the youth theater, or a youth ministry or whatever. So parental or single parent, like it just, those people are put into place for a reason. But we're realizing now that a lot of these churches are waiting to kick this pastor out to put the next person in. And that's something that's always been there. So they don't have that safety net.
Okay, Damon, are you back?
Yes.
Okay. We can ready to go to commercial. What, were you saying something? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, Lord Jesus. I can't hear. I'm going to call this phone. I can't I can't hear.
You probably can't. We about to go to commercial break. Commercial break. Call us back when we come back from commercial.
Let's come back and bring a cheese.
Okay. Listen, y'all. We just starting the conversation. I see y'all tuning in. We are reading your comments on the Facebook Live feed here. If you want, you can give us a call back after commercial break at 410-702-5657. The conversation is about depression in the church. We labeled it the silent killer because of the fact that it is the lack of its discussion and the lack of facing the problem head on. When we get back, we want to continue this conversation. Stay tuned. Can you please share so that others can take part in this conversation? And we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show.
I'm just thankful this year I've dealt with, some growing pains, and I've overcome some things, and I've also, accomplished some things in the process. I've learned some things. I learned that everybody loves your work until they got to pay for it. That's what I learned. I learned everybody loves what you do.
The pay?
I mean, not always.
Listen, the Bible says money answereth all things.
Well,
okay, and there is a place. There is a place where finances is necessary. And when you got kids and when you got a wife and then you doing everything and you top dog at what you do, especially when you weren't in the same place like with this radio show, you ain't in the same place you were a year ago. Should nobody be coming on the show and not donating to your show?
Can you say that on my show?
Should nobody be coming to your show?
Can you say that in the middle of the live?
Make that a promo, please.
Should nobody come on this show without donating?
That is a nice commercial.
I don't care if it's $20.
Donate.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on
Check
Be
out this
Exposed
snippet
Radio.
from the new season of Talk Lately with Monty when he rants about his staff.
I agree. Can you come on? I told you stop touching that button. Why is it so loud? God. Did you turn one all the way up again? Do I have to come in there? God damn her. If it was going right, I would let you do your part, but I'm sorry, but it's just not functioning the way it's supposed to be.
You're live on the air.
I told you mind your business.
Well, Monty, if I can comment on the Jennifer Holiday situation, I can.
I know I'm live on the air. I'm sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
I know I'm live on the air. This is why this whole show is called Talk Lately. Anyway, let's get back to every Tuesday at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Football, you basically have a good 10 to 12 years, and that's what it is.
When you have a lot of people retiring early, it's funny. A lot of me and my alumni from UVA, where I graduated from, one of our fellow Wahoos, he retired yesterday, 32 years old. To Shaw Ferguson, and he's been in the league like 10 or 12 years. So like you said, a lot of guys are making that change on their own now because they're seeing a lot of things from the the concussion movement,
right?
Stuff that's been happening. Is not the noun, it's the effects later, because you see different stories of men are in like their 50s and some are committing suicide because of the banging and the voices or the concussions. And
did you see that?
I haven't got a chance to see it. But
not the movie, but did you see those effects?
I have seen concussions in college where guys have played that whole entire game and didn't realize they was at a football game.
Wow.
But like before the big emphasis came about whole concussions and what's going on, we was taught you just run to the wall. You can't be soft. You shake it off and get back in it. So
the wrong attitude to have.
Right.
It's really internal. Like you really doing damage, not just to your bones,
right,
but to your mind.
Everything. Right. And later on down the line, because just like you said, once the game is over, when you've been in a game and you think about it, because I tell people the NFL, any sports, whether it's male or female, is a semi-military, because you're told when to get up, when to work out, what to eat, when to play. All right, now you got a curfew, you got to be in the bed by this time. You do it for years and years, and all of a sudden, bam, it's done. So what do you do?
Right.
So just like the military that have with PTSD, we have that because we so used to having a certain way. And I remember watching this Brian Gumbel on HBO, it was like years ago, and a guy would act like he was getting dressed, a real good football player, would walk his daughter to the bus stop, and he would come back in the house, close the curtains, and just sit there because he didn't know how else to handle himself. Because he was so used to being told what to do, because our schedule are laid out. By this time, you got to do this. By this time, you got to do this. Eat at this time, back on the field. So,
hey, what's up? This is Nate, host of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Tune in every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live, here live on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Mr. Nate from the Artist Exchange and Miss Naomi from Be Exposed. Be Inspired Radio Show. Well, we all gonna be exposed.
We all are.
Before we left, we were having a conversation about the depression targeting the leaders specifically. But my question for you is, how often, in your opinion, because we all either born and raised in church, going to church, we are committed to it at some point, some way, fashion, form of fashion, some way, form, or fashion. How often do you see the problem in church?
Every
like,
day.
do you see it yourself?
Every day.
So you can.
There's always somebody that's struggling every Sunday.
New members coming in, they came to church because they were stressed out, and this is the way that they final resort, or this is how they thought they would solve it?
I'll say I see it, but whenever you hear like somebody actually comes out with it, or if someone commits suicide, it's always a shock.
Yeah.
To the church. That's the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah.
How often do you see it?
To me.
Because why are we shocked if you see it? I see it. I can tell you I've seen it all my life. I wear it, so I know I see it. You saying. So why is everybody so shocked when someone, commits suicide or have a nervous breakdown, which that's what it used to be. Right. Because back in the day, it wasn't as much suicide that we know of, because we don't know whether or not it was, and we just wasn't getting that piece of information. But it was a lot more of, people having these nervous breakdowns, and then that's a whole question about is it a spirit or no? They their nerves just went up. Right. I mean, literally, because of all that they have.
That. There was a years ago at a church that I grew up in. There was a gentleman who he was a faithful member on the usher board, all that great stuff, and so his father committed suicide. But this young man, he kept coming to church and everything, but you could tell something was wrong. And I was young then. I was still probably like a teenager or something, but you could tell something was not right. But he was still there. He was ushering. His weight started to change. His appearance just started looking different. But he still smiled when people come through the door and everything. And then he started to do some weird things, and start saying some weird things. Like it was another young lady at our church who he started to like, I guess, and wanted to try to get with her, but she, didn't want to be with him. And so little things like that started happening, and not too long after that he committed suicide. So the signs were there, and I was a teenager, but looking back at it, the signs were there, but nobody wanted to touch it.
Right.
Knowing that he went through that with his father committing suicide, nobody wants to touch it. So it's a shock, or I'll say quote unquote shock, because a lot of times you see the issue there, but you don't want to address it. You don't want to touch it. It's just being the person on the outside, not the person who's dealing with it. And to me, there were several cries for help, even though, or not necessarily something that was visible, but you could see, that he wanted the help, but nobody reached out to him. Even people offered their condolences and things like that, but nobody reached out to him.
But, after the fact.
After the fact.
But then why are we at church? Why are we there? I mean, I get and I agree with the fact that I feel like the church is kind of sugarcoating, as the mom put, or we're not dealing with it. But like, why are we here with such a heaviness on us? Like, why we have an expectation of the leaders or the people to see something in us? We're in the place of salvation. We're in the place of saving grace. We're in the we obviously believe this if we're here.
Right.
We're this man you said is an usher. He was. So he devoted his time, his service. Why are you here if you don't fully believe that what you need is here?
I think we do. I think that's why we go to the church. It is a place of refuge. That's where you run to. But we have this false illusion and misconception of what it takes to actually have a relationship and be penetrated by God. We think, I'm going to come to the church and the pastor going to prophesy to me. Or the mother going to pray for me. We're looking for people to do specific things to bring us to a place of healing when the healing comes from within. But the purpose of the fellowship is so that we can rub elbows. If I tell my testimony and I tell you that, oh man, I was real depressed last week, I might not even know that you were depressed. I was real depressed last week, but you know what I did? I went shopping and I just went, I bought this clothes and I started feeling better because I started looking better. You're actually giving people the opportunity to look within themselves. So I think we look at the church for answers, but the whole purpose of the church is not to come to a building for worship. It's to fellowship with each other so we can learn from each other.
Okay.
You see that a lot when you get to see that a lot. What I'll say is when you came on the show, I talked about. But you see that a lot in the church. But I think the thing is, we think we're gonna walk through this magical door and everything is gonna be perfect. Or broken people don't attend church, don't go to church, aren't the leaders of the church, and we forget that, and then we get into the ritual and the habit.
I have a comment for that when we come back from the break.
Yes, we'll be right back. We're going to commercial break. Listen, we're still reading your comments. We see you here. The question on the floor outside of Naomi's comment is: do you feel this is a spiritual battle more than an earthly struggle? Is there a difference between a spiritual battle and an earthly struggle when dealing with depression? When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay tuned and please share. We'll be right back.
Lately it's back on May 17th at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com. Oh, okay, yeah, also on YouTube. I know the latest killing. Why would you see me be recording. You a hard-headed asshole.
Do yourself a favor and listen to this hilarious flashback on Charm City Direct Radio Show.
You know me. I eat like this all the time. Do I gain any weight? No, at all. You can have my belly, right? I'm giving away body parts. Somebody said they need a butt. Somebody said they
I
need
can
a
use a
butt.
little extra tissue there.
I can pop it right now.
He out here giving out butt cheek donations.
Hey everybody, it's your girl, the magical glow getter herself, Anissa Maureen, co-host of the Charm City Direct Radio Show. Catch me and the rest of my team every Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
Ladies, are you in need of the best quality hair extensions, a cute outfit, or that perfect pair of shades? Pink Ice Products can cover you from head to toe, from flawless weaves to apparel. Visit us online at pinkiceproducts.bigcartel.com. We're located at 3000 Old Alabama Road, 119-303, Alpharetta, Georgia. Or give us a call at 470-488-6484. Come on in and check out Pink Ice Products today.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired Radio Show. Our topic tonight is Spirit of Thanksgiving. And I have in the studio with me my husband, Titus James. Woo!
Titus. Hello.
Titus James. Titus. We up here.
This man
we like off the chain because we not, it's right before. Like I say, it's right before a holiday. Nobody, when you at work, nobody's. Everybody's thinking about that plate they're gonna get and their take-home plate.
Right now, people are mapping out their the logistics of like the houses that you go to, because there are some houses that you go to for breakfast in the morning.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
When people come to the church, they're looking for the answers. They're looking to the leaders and different ones for the answer. And I wanted to say, too, that sometimes it's not even just that, but for a moment, just for a moment, that person wants to feel a bit of normalcy. Right. Or just for a moment, you want to escape whatever it is that you're dealing with, because a person who deals with anxiety and depression, the true battle starts when you go home. When you come to the church, for a second you feel all right, because you're around other people, and you may be struggling with it. Or even for the leader, they come for a second and they feel that nostalgia of preaching, and they feel normal and they're on this high. But the battle starts when they mount down from that podium. They get in their car, they drive, and they go home, and then they're left with their thoughts. And so to me, the techniques and things that need to be taught is, how do I deal with it when I go home? Because we know that when we go to the church, maybe we may hear one or two things that will help us. You'll feel good for that second. All of us do. You get that word, you like, yes, you might shout. The depression and anxiety person up there got the smoothest moves, be shouting and praising. And when they leave the church and they drive in their car, and one thing, and I don't want to jump the broom, but when I was preparing, and and of course in prayer, the Lord revealed to me hiding and isolation. Those are the two, I guess, catalysts, if you will, to anxiety and depression. That is where it's bred, if you will, and that isolation piece. Once you leave that church and you get home, and you can be isolated and still have children and a husband at home, because it's in here, and you're trapped in here with your thoughts, and you can't really get it out. So for that split second, you go to church and you feel all right for a second. The high energy, the music, all of that stuff make you feel good for a second. And the true battle is when you leave.
Now, how can you be isolated at home with a husband and children and not and be in church around all of the saints, all that, and be
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Right.
What's the difference in being inside of
be.
the church and being at home with people?
Right. Well, it's a different level. Well, if you're a leader, so I'm gonna say it's twofold. Okay, so when you're home, you have that sense of responsibility. You know, you may not feel comfortable sharing it with your children. They can't handle that burden of you telling them that that you are dealing with. Like for me, I'll just be very transparent. You know, there are times that I've had anxiety attacks and my kids are in the house with me. But I can't tell them I'm having an anxiety attack without them getting scared and not knowing what to do. I don't want to put that kind of burden on them, you know. And then too, you know, maybe your spouse or whoever they don't know how to relate to you. So then you can't share. So you become isolated in that regard because you can't communicate that I'm dealing with this, or I'm dealing with this depression, or maybe in the middle of the night while everybody is asleep, you wake up with an anxiety attack or with your thoughts racing. So you can be very isolated, and isolation is not just you being shut up in a room by yourself. Isolation is in your mind. You know, you're stuck inside your head with all the thoughts, and you know that after the kids go to bed, you might have an anxiety attack, and you fearing that. You cooking dinner, but you fearing the fact
Well,
that,
the
you know
thing
what I mean?
with me, in the sad part, where I feel really bad, also being transparent, and you know that, I have chronic panic and anxiety attacks. And I don't have the luxury of not telling my kids because I'm the only adult in the house. So I have to call my co-captain, my second in command, which is Jayon. That's the name I yell all the time. Because if something happens, because you don't know you don't know which one is really an anxiety attack versus which one is really you're going to have to call 911. You know, so I have to tell her. And what bothers me to date is that now she is. Which was only one, but she had an anxiety attack. Now, granted, I took her phone. I'm not quite sure if the phone had anything to do with the because I took her phone. But the point is, I introduced that spirit to her. I introduced that. That's why I asked the question before we went to commercial break. Do you think this is more of a spiritual battle versus a physical battle? Because I brought that. If it's a spirit, I brought that in my home. You know, I brought that there, and because I included them in this with me, now my child is having these same attacks as I
I'll
do.
address that. So I think it's both. I think it definitely is a spirit.
That's what one of the viewers, Corey,
just
said.
Oh, I didn't even see that. It's definitely a spirit, but how many know those spirits also have physical implications on your body?
All of them.
Okay.
Every spirit has a physical implication.
Wait a minute. Listen, let me be. You're saying a spiritual?
Yes.
A spirit.
It manifests in your body. So you see physically.
If you don't deal with it, if you don't address it.
So, you know, and then a lot of us are good at hiding the spirits that's on us, you know, but then when they become out of control or when you don't address it, you know, then it becomes visible. It gets to the point where I guess you can say it's like out of hand. But and anyway, it is a spirit. Illness, sickness. It's a spirit.
The idea that stress can kill you. It will physically manifest itself into an illness or a heart attack or a stroke and kill you or harm you.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish I'm not an expert on it, but just understanding scripture and understanding that, you know, there are a lot of examples in the Bible of spirits that have gotten on people, and then it shows up, you know, and then it has those physical, you know, precursors or signs. You see it on the person. You know what I mean?
Can you read some of these? Because I know Pastor Schroeder just commented. Damon commented, yes, that's why you have to stay prayed up. Warren also agreed it was a spiritual battle. Pastor Schroeder said the spirit of infirmity. Go ahead.
Yeah. The spirit of infirmity can attach itself to your body and you can get sick. Sickness is not of God. Sickness is actually an infirmity, which is a physical manifestation of that spirit.
That's right.
Now, with this being said, the reason why this is kind of perplexing me, yes, I wish you was here as well, Bishop Harris, I wish you were here, is because then this is some of the main reason why people are not seeking health, seeking therapist help or medication, because they feel like if it's a spiritual battle, then I need to fight this spiritually,
right?
Not go and take medication or not go see a therapist,
right?
So this is now where the contrary. What do you do as a member, as a believer? I'm stuck here.
I believe everything. We have to address things naturally first, and so I mean we can't just automatically go to the spirit. And I'm gonna use myself as an example. I went through a period where I had anxiety and panic attacks. I went to the doctor and I took Paxil until I got control over what was going on spiritually, and then I stopped having to take Paxil.
Right.
If I had not, those spirits would have overtaken me because I was not in the mind frame to be strong enough to battle and war spiritually, because I was overcome by what was going on fleshly. Now there are some that as soon as it come on, I bind you in the name of Jesus. Say this is not of God. And when we are in our strongest position, that should be the first thought.
Right.
But usually, by the time you got into the place where you're overcome by it, it's okay to go to the doctor.
Well, I think Naomi said that the last time. Sometimes you're so far removed from what this book tells you to do, or what your spirit or your God or whomever tells you to do, that you have to seek some natural understanding of what it is. Right. People go to a therapist thinking that person is going to cure them, like they go to their pastor, but the therapist is there just like the pastor is there to help you organize and help you like put everything in perspective, and that doesn't solve your problem. It just helps you to organize and lay out in front of you what the problem is. Now it's up to you to get in that driver's seat and find the necessary individuals to put into that thing. I'm just not a person that thinks I can go to a therapist or a pastor and my problem is solved. It calms you down temporarily.
At the end of the day, it's just you in your head.
Right.
It's
but
just
for me, therapy was complete. For me, now it was two different things. On one, the therapist used the fact that I like to, I feel good when I help other people. So instead of really targeting my issues, she would give me other people's issues, and that was her way of easing me into therapy, where I was helping her with, which I probably shouldn't, other cases. But that helped clear my head. Like, that was what I enjoyed doing.
It's okay to say you had a bad therapist.
No. But listen, let me tell you, that's how she started it. But then what it was more of me, for lack of a better word, just purging myself. Like, I just told her everything, because what we usually do when we're helping other people is use your own self, your own experiences to understand or to give or to actually give good advice. I went through this, so this is how you could possibly get through this. So that was her method of helping me, because I wasn't giving her.
But I'm gonna say, and only because I took this workshop this summer, when someone goes to trauma, the last thing that you do is equate who you are to what their problem is, because now it's a competition as to how to solve this or what the problem is. A lot of parents do that, and I don't think a parent does that knowingly. But if I'm not feeling good, when I'm not feeling good either, so let's get up out this bed and get things. And that's not, you're not solving that child or that individual's problem.
They're totally different individuals with a totally different makeup. Dr. Schroeder said that physical medicine is like the welfare system. It's only set up to get you on your feet.
Yes, absolutely.
Not for it to be a longevity lifestyle.
And Lisha,
she said it should be both. The woman with the issue of blood didn't cease from seeking help. However, through her seeking, she came in contact with the healer herself.
Absolutely.
Warren said he feels fortunate to have music as therapy. I've learned to operate in that window when the symptoms come on for me.
Just like
and
David
music, everybody had, and for me, it was helping other people. And now it's just literally quiet. Like, I can't have any noise.
And a lot of people, though, in places where can't do quiet, because it leads them to their thoughts.
Right.
So it's
Well,
but that goes into the
but see, that's depression. The
people.
depression, I need noise, I need things. The anxiety, I need quiet. If I'm overwhelmed, if I'm anxious, I need everything to stop and stop abruptly.
I think it's different from person to person, and
Right.
I think that's all a part too of finding the right treatment for a person, or finding the right system for a person dealing with anxiety.
It's like
or
a learning
depression.
style. What is your learning style?
And so some people may be able to sit there quietly, or they may I remember when I first dealt with anxiety and depression, I had a counselor that I was able to call, and she was able to talk me through it, and that was helpful. So I wasn't listening to my own thoughts, but I wasn't just sitting in and quiet. I was able to have her walk through, and there are help hotlines and things like that you can call. I can't call them off the top of my head, but maybe during the break I'll find some to give. But there are hotlines that you can call if you're in the middle of an anxiety attack. And these are, I got quiet for a second over here because I wanted to talk a little bit about spiritual gifts. And that you have some who have the gift of hospitality, some that have the gift of exhortation. So when you're going to a counselor, they have that gift to be able to talk to you, to exhort you, to give you the type of counsel that you need. I want to find some more scriptures on the break, but I think we need to get into that it's nothing wrong with going to a counselor. Right. That's their gift.
Yes.
That's their gift. Gifts come without repentance, the scripture says. So you go to a person who may not be in the church, but that's their gift to sit there, for you to sit there and talk to them,
and not have some. And why for me therapy was better than going to the church, because it was completely no judgment.
Yes,
you didn't know me, I didn't know you. We were figuring each other. I was able to tell you. There was no reason for me to lie to you. There was no reason for me to make up a story or to dumb down my situation because of what you possibly gonna think of me. You are literally being paid to do just the opposite.
Exactly.
So
anything to you, I don't have to prove anything. I have to be what you think I should be. It is what it is.
And going into what you said, I guess you had in your book you were talking about, as we talked about wisdom on the wall. We used that as some of our information source last show and now as well, because you had a part in there about meditation and prayer.
Yes.
And I asked the difference because between the two, and you said basically they were one and the same, but I think one was more of a chanting of the same word. Or how did
what we understand about it. So in the book, I talk about what the dictionary says meditation is, which is sitting and, you getting in a quiet place. And some people do different positions and things for meditation, but really it's you sitting quietly and thinking on something in particular, And so I said in my book that, that is prayer also. That it doesn't have to be you sitting with your thumb, clenched to your middle finger or your index finger, sitting Indian style, sitting somewhere quietly and thinking on the goodness of God or thinking on a scripture in particular, is to me one and the same, the prayer and the meditation, Now when you get into prayer, yes, there are different levels. You have prayer when you're asking God for something, or prayer when you're thanking him, but that is prayer. You're sitting down and you're thinking on him, and to me they're one and the same. So that's what I put in the book.
Okay, so listen, y'all, we're going to go to another commercial break. We're still reading your comments. We appreciate everybody who's giving us this great, awesome feedback. If you could you share so that others could take part in this conversation? And we're going to continue this when we get back. You can call us at 410-702-5657 if you want to offer something to the conversation. And when we get back, we wanted to dive into some more of the choices, options that you can use when you're dealing with depressions, spiritual or otherwise, that we can use to help get us out of this slump when we're in it. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Ladies, are you in need of the best quality hair extensions, a cute outfit, or that perfect pair of shades? Pink Ice products can cover you from head to toe, from flawless weaves to apparel. Visit us online at pinkiceproducts.bigcartel.com. We're located at 3000 Old Alabama Road, 119-303, Alpharetta, Georgia. Or give us a call at 470-488-6484. Come on in and check out Pink Ice products today.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
It's time for Flashback.
Now, I'm not going to say all Aries don't know, but
it's just the one you had. That was
just a long one, you know.
But when I smoked weed, You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Are you getting your kids this hoverboard thing that's taking over the country? They range from $300 to $600. They're blowing up. And then I mean literally blowing up. That one video, I thought that was going to be the one and only video that I saw in reference to it, and it wasn't. Now I could probably tell you about 10 to 15 videos of this happening, where this battery gets super, super hot and burns like holes into your tennis shoes.
Oh my.
And I know you would be pissed if you was wearing Jordans and you just paid all that money, you know, your lights are off. And
especially if they're from China.
Your lights off.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on Be Exposed
Last time on
Radio.
Talk Lately.
He don't have Down syndrome.
The man killed after being shot in Charm City Circulator. That's Derek. It says a 26-year-old man was killed after being shot on the Charm Circulator bus Wednesday afternoon. Police... Oh, that was last Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. It wasn't Derek. He did that. His shooting was on Saturday. Police found the victim, who had been shot in the stomach at 2:50 p.m. at the bus on the 200 block of South Broadway and Gulf Street.
So he was on.
It is over east.
Yeah, it's the one that's coming from John Hopkins.
Police believe the suspect and victim argued, then got onto the bus. The bus was still stopped when the shooting occurred.
1 minute.
The suspect, wearing a black hoodie, black pants, black shoes, white soles. Matt. I know that was that mastermind down there. Okay, somebody go look for mastermind. Hello?
At that point, it's time to go for a break.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're back. First of all, thank you so much for staying tuned with us. Those who are still here in a queue, we're still reading your comments. Lisha G just posted the number for the suicide crisis hotline for those, if you feel at any point in time that you need to talk to someone, that's a number that you can call. Or if you know anyone that needs to call, or you think possibly may need this piece of information, just text it to them. Tell them keep it in their phone, screenshot it, just send it to them every now and then. Me and my best friend had a queue whenever things would if I thought for a half a second he was doing something that I'm sorry, someone was calling in. Can you call back now that we're from commercial break? If we thought that somebody was doing something wrong, we would text Lamentations, because Lamentations to me was like the scariest part of the Bible. It's a very scary book.
You feel scared?
We would, but that's the truth. That's what we would do at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. If you know your best friend, you know something, so we would just text Lamentations at random, and we have caught each other several times. Like, why would you do that? Like, you know, but you never know when somebody is going to need. Right. Hey, you may need to text this number every now and then. You don't know. It might be a laugh and joke on your end, but on their end, they may very well need it. I have a question. Going with what we were saying, we were talking about alternative things that we can do whenever we're suffering with depression. I call this thing, it's called the butt guard. Because whenever we, as Christians, we will watch plays. Tyler Perry, whomever, we will watch their plays. And every play, to me, end on the butt guard. And I think I talked to you about this before, Nate, when I had wrote my play. I said I wanted to start my play where most plays end, at the butt guard, because it's always this, my mother did this to me, or my father did this, or my uncle molested me, butt guard. And then everybody sing a song, and everybody take a bow at the end of the play and walk out. What else? You know, I know that he can. I know that he will. We know the song. We know the words.
Where are you now?
Right, but right now, I need God. I don't need you to tell me that God will. I need the process after. Wait a minute. We have a phone call? Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to comment on
this Corey?
You guys' issue. Yeah, this Corey.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
We're good.
I wanted to comment on you guys' issue as far as having, I guess you want to call it mental diseases that you can't control.
Okay.
Well, it's actually two parts to it. When you come into the spiritual and you come into the natural realm, I believe, my own opinion, I believe a lot of it comes from spiritually, because, I was raised to believe that when you are anointed and you decide to live the opposite of the life of your religion, that the devil attacks you and makes certain things happen with your mind frame, your body. He attacks your body and he attacks your mind frame. And the most things that we deal with is mentally. We deal with depression, schizophrenia, bipolar. It's not just with one race, it's with all races. So when you have a mantle on your life, because that means that you already have someone that's over top of you in your family, the generation before you, you have a mantle of people that has been pastors, deacons, bishops, and the mantle always end up passing on to somebody else. But I think that what family forget to realize is that they get so caught up in the spiritualness and the religion of certain things is that when people go through mental depression or mental schizophrenia or things that we're diagnosed with in the natural realm, that it's hard to fight it when you're dealing with natural and you're dealing with spiritual.
Okay.
Because we always run to either alcohol, drugs, or some sort to slow the mind frame down from us thinking about what goes on when after we become depressed, we run to alcohol or we run to or whatever the case may be. We run to those things to take our mind frame for a minute, but then after a while, we're back at it again, which makes people addicted because some people don't know how to run to Christ, and then some people make them run from Christ because of how spiritual that they are, and they forget that they're still people themselves and they've been there before.
So you mean those who are running from their calling?
Exactly, my point.
Okay.
When you run from your calling, because it's so much harder to do right than it is to do wrong. So when you decide that you have to give up everything that's going on in your life in order to be saved, in order to live like God or live like Christ or be like Christ, it's so hard to do it because you enjoy yourself and the temperament of being everything that's doing wrong, partying or being able to play cards or do whatever the case may be. With Christians, you can't play cards, you can't spit, you can't wear a skirt, pants to church, things of that sort in certain churches. So I'm just speaking on the part of the mental part because I have manic depression.
That's right. And the pressure come along with that.
And I have manic depression, and I also fight with schizophrenia. So and they told me that schizophrenia was genetic. And manic depression is not genetic. That's something that forms from a trauma in your life or something that happened that resets your mind in your life that caused you to have depression. Right. And a lot of people fight with that, but they don't know how to ask for help. What they tell you, the first thing they tell you is to run to your family or whatever the case may be. And if you have a person that's so spiritual, they tell you to keep praying to God. You need some type of therapy than just praying. We all know that you have to pray and you have to ask God to help you, but you need something outside of that naturally.
Right. Not to just put some family members they can only speak spiritual. They can't talk just as family. Thank you, Corey, for calling and giving us that piece of information. We got to take another commercial break, and I don't think you're going to be able to stay on the line during the commercial break. We're going to talk about what you just discussed when we come back from the commercial break, but thank you so much.
All right, and I'll keep watching.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
There's a rumor going around that Tyler Perry and Oprah are beefing.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. So how important is it for you to have an organization like that and having a child of your own? How does that influence your ability to do the Impact organization?
It influences a lot. It's a little bit challenging because a lot of times people will say, oh, like, you have to practice what you preach, right? So if I'm telling my daughter and I'm raising her under the Impact principles and I'm telling other mothers to do this, I have to do the same thing with my child, which is kind of testy a little bit, but I see a lot of development with her. Her leadership, she's only 4. And when I say she has some awesome leadership qualifications, I mean awesome. It's little things that we can observe with our kids, right?
Right.
For instance, when we take them to the park, she brings out a toy, and other people wants to play with them. She's only child, by the way. She's not going to say, no, you can't play. Only play with this person. She takes the leader in the upper road and be like, okay, well, let's all take turns. So everybody get in the line. Okay, now you go first. Okay, now you go first. And she makes herself last. And that's what I want to see, that's what I would like to see in all kids. And she's only 4. And when I see those leadership qualifications, of course I have to praise her. Because I'm like, awesome, London, you're being a really good leader. So, it's amazing, and it works. I mean, it really works, my child. And I'm not saying she's a perfect child, because there's no such thing as a perfect child. But when you instill Impact principles into your child, and, especially at a young age, and influence their everyday life. Even her teachers are telling me, like, I can see the work that you're doing with her for a single mom. Thank you. Like, they're just thanking me. And that's a blessing as well.
And I think really what it is that our youth just needs that kind of guidance. That's it. Once they have an example, someone that they can follow or someone that they see doing something great or maybe doing something similar, that right there is a catalyst for their success.
Yep, absolutely. And, it also goes with the mom as well. The mom and the dad.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Listen to Elizabeth Warren talking about Black lives and Black life.
Police are not occupying armies. This is America, not a war zone. I speak today with full knowledge that I have not personally experienced and can never truly understand the fear, the oppression, and the pain that confronts African Americans every day.
Don't you just want to kill yourself? I mean, not from what she was saying, but from the music that was playing in the background. I just want to...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're back. Before the commercial break, we had a caller, Corey called in, and she said so much. And unfortunately, we wasn't able to talk about it right then because we had to go to a commercial break, but we definitely want to get into it now. Lisha, you had something specific that you want to talk about?
Well, I was thinking about how she said that, we try to treat the ailment, try to treat the issue with sex, drugs, alcohol, whatever, but it always comes from a place of trauma. Something started at that point, and that's something that we just kind of run over top of. We try to treat the symptoms instead of identifying the
And that's
source.
the same thing that the person in leadership try to attack, aka treat. Because you're calling me out for the smoking or the drinking or going to the club or sex, whatever I'm using as my coping mechanism to not deal with the stress and anxiety or depression. And that's what I'm using, and that's what you target. You need to stop smoking. You need to stop drinking. Let me come up here. I'm gonna let you. I bind that fornication demon. But all of this is because of the depression and anxiety.
But what they see is that behavior, and it's up to you. And I don't know why this is my point of view, but it has to start with you. We cannot expect for the outside of us to solve our problems.
That's true.
And because we live in an imperfect world.
Yeah.
And the only person that can do that is God. And he's sending these people our way to confess to open up to. But we're too ashamed. They're too judgmental. So that's a miscommunication right off the bat.
But it takes iron to sharpen iron. You can't get sharp by yourself.
Right.
So while you have to start from within, you still need somebody else.
I think the decision to want to get healed, and I say it like that, the decision to want to get healed starts with you. And then once that happens, you know, because God looks at the heart of a man. He sees that. He's going to start sending those resources your way because you made up in your mind. And I used this scripture last week, and I talked about the issue of blood, just like Valicia did, you know, about how her true healing started. She did. She went to physician and to physician, you know, but the true healing started when she made up in her mind that she wanted to be healed. And then she was able to press her way. It was like the crowd opened up and God saw her and he was like, who touched me? But it wasn't that he didn't know.
Right.
It was getting her to openly confess that she was the one with the issue.
Exactly.
And so the starting with you part that you're talking about, Nate, is the decision. You making up in your mind that you want to be healed.
But people are doing that.
Yeah.
People are, they're saying it.
That's what I was about to say.
They're saying they come in a church.
It has to be a consistent.
People get saved every Sunday
and come back and
get saved again. I mean, I'm talking about people who walk to the altar every Sunday for the same situation,
right?
And it's not going anywhere.
And that's because they don't have the tools and the resources. Like we just discussed earlier in the show, you know, you come to the altar, you come for prayer, but what happens after that when you go home? You either you don't have anybody you can talk to, you feel isolated, you know, you don't know the resources. So to me, the healing goes beyond just I'm going to pray for you and you're on that high, but sis, after you leave here, we need to have a talk.
Right.
We need to have a discussions. Brother, you know, I want to link you up with this person so that you can maintain the healing that you just received, you know, so you don't relapse, if you will, you know, and different things like that. So, yeah.
But most times I see it as us taking a step before we made the decision. I walked down to that altar because I thought at the end of that altar was going to be my answer. But I haven't made a decision that this is what I want, because if I go back home and it's still tempting to me, I have to continue to make that decision that I don't want that. That's not the life I want no more. That's not the decision I want anymore. I'm making this decision. And walking to the altar, to me, in my personal situation, was me deciding to take a step before I made the decision. So that's why when I went home, it was still a temptation. That's why when I left out that parking lot, it was still an issue. And it didn't go anywhere. And we do the same thing when we out in the world, we dancing out pain away, and we drinking and sleeping around. When you wake up out of that, when that soberness hits you, the problem is still there. And the same thing to me happens in church. When you get filled in that spirit, and that spirit just come down and you come back down to normal, the problem is still there. You haven't eliminated the problem.
Let's stop identifying the whole filled in the spirit thing. We get caught in the emotional antics of the service. And we associate that with being in the presence of God. When we're in God's presence, really, transformation occurs. So if we go to this place that we think is in God's spirit and we come back out and we're in the same place, you weren't in the spirit, you were in the emotional
nostalgia
high of the service. And these are the things that we have to start to retrain our minds when we go to church. We have to start looking at what we do when we go to church as an excitement celebration thing, and not so much the worship experience that we claim it to be. It's not always transforming.
Nada,
we have fun.
Nada said she deals with depression and bipolar and anxiety. She go to therapy. But what helped her most is to stay away from the people and things that stress her out. And yes, you have to decide if you want to be healed.
That's true. I'm going to read this. I have to, right? Because we all agreed that we said anxiety and depression is a spirit. And as I was saying before, you know, once you get the healing that you need, what do you do to maintain the healing afterwards? And this scripture came to mind, but I couldn't quote it verbatim, so I looked it up. Matthew 12:43 and 45. When an unpierced spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the house I left. When it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean, and put in order. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And the final condition of that person is worse than the first. And that's how it will be with the wicked generation. So I brought up this scripture because a lot of times we go to the church, we go to the altar, we get the healing, right? Okay, so our spirit is swept clean, right? It's all in order. But then when we go home, because we don't know how to maintain that healing, we don't know how to maintain what we just received when we went to church, because that was real. The healing took place, you know, but afterwards, because we left that door open, because we didn't find the proper tools, because Elder so-and-so maybe didn't follow up with a call and say, hey sis, how you doing? You know, we know you came to the altar for that issue, you know, but that was left open there, you know. So that's what I meant by saying that, you know, it doesn't just stop when you go to that altar. You know, that your healing and recovery continues after that. You have to be, now you have to be mindful, you know, and like the sis said here in the comments, you know, you might have to remove yourself from a certain individual, certain places. Is that going to help you maintain your freedom and your healing? Then that's what you're going to need to do. Okay, I was about to start preaching, family.
Listen, you already got the water.
The doors of the church are now open.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. That's fine with me, honey.
Drop your money in the keep it moving, please.
Listen,
that is, I'm going to say that was truth, though.
Yes.
That is definitely truth. You have to maintain it. That circle of men that the pastor asked you to come up there and pray over you and touch you while she was trying to heal you, none of them called you. No. So you got to take it upon yourself to continue to maintain that
alone.
thing
You're
that
isolated.
you just filled up.
Now, that you speak on this, I have to bring this up because we didn't discuss it last week. And I want to be careful with it because I don't want to be offensive.
Yes.
But we touched on the strongholds in depression last week, but we didn't get a chance. And I want to make sure before we go too far and before we go too far in the conversation that we discuss this.
Okay.
Because some people are dealing with a lot of this depression and anxiety because they have things of themselves that they don't want to deal with, whether it be fornication, whether it be homosexuality. There's a lot of homosexuality. We're not even going to beat around the bush. That's a lot of what it is.
Absolutely.
Because you're dealing with these men and women in the church who are being taught one thing, who is being told one thing, and they love God like you love God. They want to serve God like you want to serve God.
Yeah.
And they want to be respected. They want to be loved. They want everything you want. They just happen to want it with the same sex.
Right.
And they feel condemned. So they are part of a church, and some of them are even binding themselves. I've had people that I've been around will get up there and you're homosexual demons, and I'm like, dude, okay. You know, and I want to know how, to me, this is a lot of where the depression and anxiety come in because you are swallowing this every Sunday.
You just told him he had to, or she had to, detach himself from that thing that they felt was binding them. So identity tells you, well, I gotta separate myself from who I am. And you realize that's who you are, but I have to separate. It's a young man that's on the internet now, and he's doing things for a lot of attention, and he was I don't want men's no more. That is, something is wrong with him separate from that issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people are telling him that this is what he needs to do to get back on course. And that's,
that's like somebody telling you got to take your face off if you want to cure that skin issue.
And this
like,
is happening without fully understanding that person. So a lot of the times,
or yourself,
right? Yeah, well, of course, the person is dealing with identity issues, or they're battling with it. They don't understand what's happening to them. So since we're talking about homosexuality, I'm not an expert on it, but what I will say is that a lot of times the person that's preaching it is saying is wrong are themselves struggling with it,
because it's an identity issue,
right? So they're themselves struggling with it too, and I've seen this happen, and for them to feel like they're doing a service to the church, or to even hide what they're dealing with, they condemn it. It's wrong, and they're dealing with it too. The other thing is there are others in the church, because let's be real. Let me start by saying this. These are real issues that are going to come in the church, and we can't ignore it.
Right.
Somebody is going to come in and they're struggling in their members, as the old folks used to say, struggling in their members, right? In their body, or they, and this is not just a person who is, and this is not just a person who is a homosexual. You may have someone who like a lot of women. They might be a man who like a lot of women, or can't just stick to one or whatever. But the fact is, the issue is we don't talk about it. We don't investigate that person because we're scared to deal with it. We're scared of what that's going to open up if we talk about it. But that's where the true healing is going to happen.
They deal with it like they would deal out on the streets.
Right.
We're scared of what is going to open up in us.
And that's true too.
If we talk about
stop telling these people business.
No, I'm just saying. And a lot of times I don't talk to people because I don't know if what I'm going to say is going to be valid. Right. Or it's gonna be, so I just choose
or even
not
appreciate it.
Maybe they don't want to hear it. So
or are you able to defend what you say to that person who's dealing with the anxiety and depression? To me, if you're going to deal with it, be able to deal with that person saying, I don't, well, I was born like this. Well, how are you going to answer that question? So I'm just saying that, and I'm not saying I'm giving you the answer. I'm just stating what I believe is the obvious. That, to me, in order to get to the bottom of a lot of this major stuff that's going on in our churches, major or minor, whatever you call it, if it's affecting the person, it's an issue.
Is major.
Right.
This specific thing dealing with especially homosexuality, because it's an identity thing, and there's so many people that struggle with that, and for whatever reason the church is attractive, and I don't know if it's because of a need, they want to be converted, or they just
they can hide just like everybody else.
Right, they can hide. Right, so I don't know the reason for it. I do know that it's there, and I know that it's prominent, and I know it needs to be discussed, because you have people who are dying.
Discussed. That's the key.
It is.
Those issues need to be talked about.
Right.
Listen, y'all. We got
on a Sunday morning.
Absolutely, and you should.
I don't know if we should.
You should get it,
or in Bible class settings and things like that.
It's for one thing, and then that's why we have Bible studies and we have fellowship hall.
When I say you should, I'm not saying it should be the focal point of the Sunday. I'm saying that if somebody, no, that's what I'm saying. If it is warranted, if it is needed, if somebody come in with that stronghold and you see it as a leader and it needs to be dealt with, it shouldn't be no.
I mean, let's get outside of.
But listen, we got to go to commercial break because she's giving me the eye.
My bad.
We'll be right back.
I didn't see no more signs going on.
She was rambling on like Skylar said.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned because this is getting hot and we are not done with this topic. Stay tuned. We're still reading your comments and share, please. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
This is the reality
of
the world that we're living in. A lot of young people don't have the information that is necessary to have healthy lives. And a lot of the organizations that are geared towards young people don't have individuals that are going to be as honest as this gentleman.
One of the issues that I have with this quote unquote Christian nation that we live in is that
not just the Christians,
religion allows you to live in denial, but the world does not live in denial. So who are you helping with your? All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm about to do something.
The reason I shrink that or take that away because it's people who are not religious. It's people who they're not giving their young people, or they don't have a person that could be that honest with them. I mean, we all have that. I know I had a mother like that.
There are
rather than
and it's just and it's been recently because I've recently had more interaction with teen mothers than I have in my whole life. I wasn't my mother wasn't a teen mother. Her mother was. She made sure none of her daughters were. So it was, in as I get older and working in certain areas, you tend to run into that. And one of the things that blows my mind is how often a teen mom does not talk to their child at all, period, much less their daughter that they had at 15 to say, these are the realities of sex. These are the realities of the choices that you can or cannot make. These are the realities. Like, how do you not, after going through it yourself, knowing the stress, the looks, how do you then turn and look at someone else and say, all right, good luck? I mean, this is your offspring. I'm sorry. I just get very emotional about that. It bothers me that there are a great deal of people.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Listen, that's not fair. We're back. Prior to going to commercial break, first of all, let me apologize to Skylar when you called in. We were still in the middle of the conversation. Feel free to call back if you would like. My apologies. Before the commercial break, we were talking about strongholds and depression in the church. And I had a direct question about why is it that dealing with people with these strongholds, they don't want, I mean, I don't know whether or not it's the issue is them not wanting to do something or they're battling because they want to do it at all.
Well, if you haven't talked to that person that's having that stronghold or that issue, and you announce it in church, that person feels persecuted. But if you haven't, as the leader or the person who chose to have that sermon, had a conversations with those individuals, or opened up the door for those individuals to come and talk to you, so you have a better understanding of what's going on, opposed to you talking about something that you heard somewhere, opposed to you talking to the source that's having a problem. You know, the pastor talking to you and it's your issue, and they've announced it to everybody without even talking to you. But that means this conversation happening without the source.
But I'm talking about somebody who is battling. We're talking about leaders, right? And we're talking about those who are up here rebuking that very thing that's within them,
but
that they're fighting against.
Typically, when you're writing a sermon or you get scripture, led to scripture to preach, it's for you.
Yeah.
So we look at it as they're preaching against this, that, and the third to kind of condemn them. To avoid no, that's the word that God gave them. And if
but then why aren't they directing it towards them?
We're supposed to be the first partakers of the word,
and that's preachers, what's not happening.
You can't say that.
Well, I'm talking about for the ones that I've seen.
Explain to me what's going on, because I just got lost in this conversation just now. So the pastor gets the word and it's preached, and somebody feels condemned.
The people listening feel condemned.
Okay.
But we as preachers are the first partakers of the word.
Okay.
So anything that I'm saying, I have to apply to myself first before I can.
That's the question.
We can't say that. We can't say that.
We can't say.
But that doesn't mean that God didn't give that word to them.
I'm talking about the ones who are rebuking a homosexual demon and battling with said homosexual demon.
Who says that they're not rebuking the homosexual demon that they may be encountering?
They may be.
With the strength of the collective we have now congregation.
But when you are talking at people and you're saying with your homosexual, with your whatever self and this, that, and the other, and then you're directing it towards people. You're talking at them. This is not with love, with kindness, as I draw in thee.
That's a preach style that individuals have adopted as individuals, and if you listen to that type of preacher, that's how they preach about every topic.
Agree.
To every. So we take offense to that because that's a sensitive topic. We don't want to talk about that. Because
but if that's the thing. But if this is what you're seeing that is causing this much depression, you just said it. It's here.
It's not just
in
that.
both
not
of
even
them.
that
No,
you,
I'm
that
just
you
using
see
that
it, but
one.
God sees that that's a issue in the midst that you have, in the congregation that you have, and God gives you that word. It's up to you. If you preach it before you talk to anybody, fine. But it's up to you to follow up that message or point people to follow up that message.
If you're going to do that,
with those individuals,
at least go and attempt to help these people who are battling with this.
Yep.
How to live through this, not even work through it. How to live through this is a lifelong thing here. How to live through this, you know. And to me, it's so unfair because you have people, like you said, dealing with identity crisis, which can cause. You just said that these spirits manifest physically, so now you're dealing with all these different things in your body's ailments, and it's unfair because you don't know how to cope with this outside of medication. Then you got all these people popping, everybody taking pills. Now I don't know who ain't taking pills. Probably more people not just taking them than it is not.
And that's,
you know, because people don't know what to.
That's more of a political thing too. You know how our systems are driven by giving people medicines. You know,
to maintain it, not to cure it.
Right, and that's just to keep you coming back. You know, but I mean, I think that's absolutely the truth. I don't know any other way to convey that. That you know that the healing, you know, while it may have been initiated at church, you know, there has to be a continuation, even with your after you've, you know, given your life to Christ, your relationship with God has to be maintained. It can't just stop with you coming to church on Sunday.
Because the world didn't change.
Right. After that, you have to continue to maintain your faith. You know, pray without ceasing, with everything in prayer and supplication. All the scriptures in the Bible teach us that it is a continual process, and so is your healing. If y'all listeners don't leave with nothing else, you know, the main thing is to, when you make up that in your mind, you know, to get healed, you know, make that decision. You know, if you're in church and you go up to the altar and you get healed, make it your business. Now that you know, now that you're educated, family, you know, make sure you find the resources you need to maintain that, because it's not going to maintain itself.
I think we need to start going to the same programs that these AA and Narcotic Anonymous individuals go to, because they have, it doesn't always work for them. It's a small percentage where people relapse. But the maintenance of what they go through, you were once an addict, you're always an addict.
And relapse is actually a part of addiction. I mean, a part of recovery. It's actually assumed to be a part of. They expect you to have some level of relapse. So, but the difference though in addiction and depression is that you don't have to be addicted to being in that place. So what we want to do is we want to declare our victory and be victorious.
But that the addiction equates to comfort. You become comfortable in that depressive state.
And that's true. You can become addicted to anxiety and depression, because your body is used to it. It craves it. It becomes a new normal for you.
Anxiety?
Yes. It becomes a new normal for you. So
I've never heard of being addicted to being
Yeah.
I thought people were addicted to. Well, maybe it's.
I think it's comfort equates to addiction. I think comfort level, because you can be comfort in that depression.
I don't know if it's comfort. I think coming from somebody who have chronic panic attacks, I think it's more so you bring it on because of the normalcy of it. You look for
it's the new normal.
It's
of
not
your body.
necessarily comfortable. I'm just saying I don't find it comfortable at all. But I will.
Comfortable, I like this. But what have you done to get yourself out of that so you break that cycle? That to me, that's
I
what
agree
comfort
with that.
is.
I agree with that.
That becomes addiction, because what have I done to break that monotony or that cycle or that pattern of that addiction, of that depression, of that?
Not if your life is, I call it a loop. If you're on a daily routine, you can't. If your job is what causes anxiety, you still got to go to work. You know, but you don't.
Or for some people, you know, if it's truly chronic, then you'll end up in avoidance stage where you won't go to that job, where you just like, I'm not going because it
sit outside in the car.
It's not necessarily healthy. You know, now this is not the avoidance that Sis was talking about earlier. Right. That if it's causing you stress, she's talking about like toxic relationships,
right?
You know, but then there's unhealthy avoidance, but then we'll go that's something different. That's medical stuff, y'all.
Which we will get into. Which we will get into when we come back. Listen, y'all, stay tuned. For those who want to be a part of the conversation, you can call us at 410-702-5657. After we come back from commercial break, we'll continue this conversation. We're still reading your comments. We have a few here that we have to read. I thank you for chiming in, Mr. Scott, Mr. Lewis. We'll read your comments when we come back from commercial break.
That needs to be a bridge from like.
We'll be right back.
Ladies, are you in need of the best quality hair extensions, a cute outfit, or that perfect pair of shades? Pink Ice products can cover you from head to toe, from flawless weaves to apparel. Visit us online at pinkiceproducts.bigcartel.com. We're located at 3000 Old Alabama Road, 119-303, Alpharetta, Georgia. Or give us a call at 470-488-6484. Come on in and check out Pink Ice products today.
Man, it is what it is. Man, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is.
This fly T Miles, also known as Tyree Miles, and Mr. Miles the writer.
Hip Hop K, check us out every Friday on Be Exposed Radio at 9/11.
Coming to y'all soon.
Ladies, are you in need of the best quality hair extensions, a cute outfit, or that perfect pair of shades? Pink Ice products can cover you from head to toe, from flawless weaves to apparel. Visit us online at pinkiceproducts.bigcartel.com. We're located at 3000 Old Alabama Road, 119-303, Alpharetta, Georgia. Or give us a call at 470-488-6484. Come on in and check out Pink Ice products today.
Check out this flashback from the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
That's the biggest thing, is just empowerment. Just get off of the begging line. Just be proud and just get our pride and our dignity back, because as a child, we're taught how to go and beg for a job. Our parents, they literally taught us how to make sure you pull your pants up. Me, I'm 6'7", so I'm a bigger man. I was always taught how to not be threatening or intimidate people when I go into different interviews or different scenarios. And so we're literally taught how to condition ourselves, condition our speech, everything, in order to go and beg these people for a job, because we know when we walk in the door, I have to tear down 10 stereotypes before I get past hello. So we need to eliminate that. You know, and we need to eliminate that, and the way that we do that is employing ourselves and employing our brothers and sisters. And so that's our mission, is group economics, uplift ourselves, because I can't empower anyone until I empower myself, and change from just being willing, because it's in my heart and my passion to see my people succeed and see us do better and change the social order, because I know that we are not supposed to be on bottom. I understand who I was. I know I didn't fall out of the sky and land on a plantation. So when you have knowledge of self and you know who you are and what you come from, it's frustrating more than anything to see us in this position.
Tune into the Artist Exchange every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. live on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome. Jack, I'm just Nate. I'm the Sunset Soul. I'm your host, Love Dawn. I got Lisha G here, my co-host, Mr. Nate from the Artist Exchange Radio, and Miss Naomi from Be Inspired Radio, all of which is on BeExposedRadio.com.
Yes.
Be Exposed Radio, period.
Be exposed.
No.
Yeah. Before the commercial break, we was talking about the strongholds and overcoming and different methods that we could use. We talked about prayer. We talked about we even talked about meditation, when you distinguish the difference between the two. We talked about medications, therapy. These are different choices that different options that you can choose from when dealing with depression. But I want to get into something that I call it the aftermath, and it bothered me. Nice. And I need to, you know, like I said, I'm very careful when I have these conversations, but dealing with suicide, which is now we're at a place where none of that worked for somebody. Yeah. Somebody either did not utilize any of those options, or they used them all, and nothing worked. They went to the prayer lines, they called the hotlines, they talked to a friend, they prayed. I'm quite sure that nobody, I don't believe in my heart that anybody who is in the church or grew up in the church or knew anything about church committed suicide without attempting to pray. You know, because that's all you know to do. But you have some, it just didn't. It did work for them. And recently, I saw something. There was a. I just don't want to be disrespectful. There was a musical in honor of someone who
that's not wrong.
Committed suicide. Huh?
I said that's not wrong.
But no, how I feel about it might be.
Okay.
So I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
But I have an opinion.
Okay.
It bothered me when I saw it because all of this, first of all, let me first say is hearsay one and an assumption because I don't know the story. Okay. So I'm using this because this may not be his or her story, but it's somebody's, is what I'm saying. And this person was known to sing. So the musical was in honor of the person. What bothered me is if this young man committed suicide while singing. I mean, not while singing literally, but that was his coping mechanism. That was what he used.
I believe that.
Daily. That was his work. I feel like as a church, it made me mad when I saw it. Because how do you use the same format that he used all this time to be to mask his pain as now a celebratory tool? I feel like it's kind of like, wait, what?
Well, they saw that as his gift.
I get it. I'm not disputing. Listen, let me be clear. I totally understand what was meant. I totally understand. We've done it. I've been in church. When I say all my life, I know what we do. I understand that. If something happened to me, I tell people right now, please I wanted to be more food than enough. That's what I do. I cook and I sing. I want music. I want laughter. I don't want no soft music playing. I want choir singing, and I want more food and more food. I want you giving out plates. That's what I do. So I'm not disputing that this is what he did. I'm saying for me, because of the way of death, because of the church, when my niece committed suicide, I didn't want to talk because I was ashamed. Yeah. Because I felt like, how am I out here doing what I do? At that time, I was a family service coordinator. So I'm going around talking to people every day. And you know that. Talking to people, encouraging them not to commit suicide. And my niece commit suicide around the corner from me while I slept. So, no, I feel embarrassed. I feel like as a body, and I might be wrong, so somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like as a body, as a church, if one of our members go this way, I think if you're going to do something in honor of a name, it should be a Italian service. It should be a revival. It should be silence. We need to be quiet because something's wrong that we miss this. Or it's something wrong that this can happen right on our watch. Right. And what are we celebrating as a church? How I don't get it.
I don't feel like you're wrong. Right. Because I can't tell you you're wrong about your point of view. What I can say is people try to make amends for things that have happened. I was too busy in my own world to see what was happening with this person, or I overlooked this, or this wasn't loud enough, or this person didn't come to me. This person didn't say what was wrong. They didn't show the signs. A lot of people look at their gifts. He may have looked at that gift as not so much a curse, or he could have looked at it as a curse, or it could have been something that he just naturally did. He had it inside of him to do, but he didn't know how to break away from it for a second.
I think we will never know.
Absolutely.
And so many
what caused it, how, we know that there was something there, but at this point, because he's gone, we don't know. And I think it served its purpose because it caused awareness.
Right.
You know. Well, I'm not saying that it caused. I'm not saying it caused action. That's something different.
Okay, you're absolutely right.
Well, what I'm saying is it caused awareness. People started talking about it. It started opening up people's eyes. And the reason why I know that because I didn't know this person personally, but people that I know knew this person personally, you know, talked about anxiety and depression and never uttered a word about it before. Right. You know, to me, that's a start. Now, action is something different. Action is something different. People who know about it, like you, for instance, this is action right here. Yeah. The Tarian service might not never happen. But this right here is a form of revival. Yes. We're talking about it. We're igniting the people that are tuned in right here who know God or don't know God. They are being made aware of it. Yes. So even though it might not happen on this, well, this is a grand scale as far as I'm concerned, this platform. But even though, you know, we might not be on TV with thousands of people, the fact is this is action. Yes. And then on the side of talking about the celebratory part, you know, no, we're not celebrating the way he went. No, we're not ignoring that this happened. But what we're doing is appreciating that this person, the life of that person, you know. Now, we're not talking about the way he went. We're not talking about the way he went.
That's my only question.
Right.
That's the part that I feel like I'm talking about like, God forbid, anybody on Be Exposed Radio commit suicide.
Right.
I feel, and Monty is in here, and I will tell him the same thing. It's nobody else's responsibility to pay homage to that person as far as radio personality besides us at Be Exposed,
the family,
radio.com. That's our responsibility to do. Now, I'm just saying that using us as, because we're supposed to be one here. We're one station.
I think all those people in some way felt connected to him, even if that person, even if it was through the music or whatever, you know, they may not have ever gotten close enough to him to know his personal issues or their personal issues. I'm trying to be as general as I can be. That person's issue, but they might have been connected with him because they sung on a choir with him somewhere, you know, and that was their way of feeling like they contributed. They may not ever be able to do, you know what I mean?
I understand why they did it.
Right.
And I'm not going to say if I knew them, I wouldn't have went to the music. I'm not saying it was a wrong thing to do. What I'm saying is I don't understand how we, if God forbid somebody did that here at Be Exposed, we carry on and have shows and shout them out or just play their favorite song or we have a good laugh roast session over the you know, but we're not focusing on our subject matter. Everybody's show need to be on suicide, in my opinion, on our station, because we need to deal with that's not okay,
right?
You know, so I'm saying his home. I'm not talking about his friends. And I'm talking about the people who left him, who came together, did the musical. I'm talking about wherever he led at, whoever he prayed over. He was a leader.
That he was a leader here. Conversations about it, but then again, we don't know what's happening. It should have,
to me, and I'm saying should have. Maybe I shouldn't say should have. To me, I expect for the church to now, the all call should be, we need to have an awareness.
But you're expecting to get orange juice from an apple. If they weren't aware then, why would you assume that they would automatically know what to do now?
But now we should be seeking, because one of our own did this. Not only one of our own that I expected, not because I put him in a role. He was in a leadership role.
Right.
So he led me. You're standing here, the leader of the praise and worship team, so you're on my front line.
Well, I'm gonna stop right there, because we take our praise teams for granted.
I agree.
Don't see them
I agree.
as ministry leaders. You might have a minister of music, but they don't necessarily count them as ministers always. The people that sing praise and worship, while they are at the front line, they're the first ones combating these spirits for the whole congregation. We don't necessarily always see that. So I think that that's something that we need to start
to
put more attention on. The fact that our praise, and we grab the babies in a heartbeat just because they got a beautiful voice, throw them up on praise and worship, and they battle it through all kind of depression
These
and sadness
people
and fornication.
are hit with every spirit that walk in that door. And we said it last week, before the ministers come out of the office. And to me, that is so serious. You have to be so guarded, so protected, so covered. And that's what we're not doing. And okay, we didn't do it. We messed up. Okay, we're human, as you said. We are human. We are a body, but we messed up. But I'm not gonna sing and dance over it because that's what he did.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. And it bothered me only because I'm like, now what? What's the difference between that and a Tyler Perry but God at the end of the play?
Right.
Everybody keep going back to the but God's gonna do it.
Right.
You know.
But you have to look at sometimes somebody was sitting in that audience. It may have been some artist in that situation or some counselor or somebody in that audience that was a seed was planted in them from seeing that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody can't be perfect. So somebody needs to do a show all on suicide. Somebody needed to do that play on his life that included talking about what happened. You know, we can't keep going to our funerals having people die for unnecessary illnesses or situations and not talk about it.
Agreed.
Right. I remember my father died from HIV, and he had brothers and sisters, and they all got high together, and they all had it. And my aunt, his youngest sister, decided, she said, I'm not going to let another funeral go by, and she apologized to me in advance because she was about to get real. And she was about to say things that, as a child of that parent, I didn't want to hear. But she said, I got tired of this happening to each one of my brothers and sisters, 4 to be exact. And she got up and she said some things that hurt the family to know that this is going on and nobody is saying anything. At least if you didn't say anything, if you said something, we could feel something like we tried. But if nobody's trying and you just letting things happen, you letting things go by, and nobody, so I get what you're saying, but somebody in that audience that came to see that, that didn't know that person directly, a seed was planted in them. Right. A seed was planted in them.
I would hope and pray so. I'm serious. I would hope and pray so. And I really want to be clear when I say I'm not down in the musical. All I'm saying is we have to take some responsibility as leaders, as churches, to now step up. That should not have been the highlight of this.
I'm going to say I hope that we're making an assumption that the musical, was the musical and there was no conversation. I'm hoping that, even though that was one of the ways that this person was remembered, that alongside of that or offline, they're having conversations with their leaders and with their, that might not be publicized.
You're right.
That might not be.
And that's why I said I'm using this as an example, because if it's not his story, then it's somebody's story. I can only speak, I can speak on my niece. And I know that was not a discussion. So I'm not just saying him. I'm saying for the church,
or anybody,
when this comes up, it's like we don't use it. As I put here, this man, as well as my niece, brought up in the church, what we're taught about suicide. You know that you may not want to think about it because you're gone. That's the first thing. Well, I'm gone. I'm not going to hear it anyway. But the scrutiny that's going to come behind the way that you pass. They are aware of that.
Nobody's thinking about that.
No, I know that because I'm saying you are aware of it. It's just not in your forefront. You're not worried about it because in your mind, I won't be here to hear it anyway. But you are aware that comes along with it. It's no way in the world you're going to tell me that a thought of what my mother going to say or what such and such are going to say if I do that. I said it would be impossible for that not to be a thought. The point that I'm making is, why are we hiding it? Because this is publicized and they are aware of it. All I'm saying is we don't want to talk about it. And I feel like if we're going to use, why not use that shame? Why not use that embarrassment? We should be embarrassed.
But it's the same reason somebody won't tell you that there's stage 4 cancer. They want to feel normal. They want to have
You're
control.
talking about the person.
No, that's what's important, that individual.
Well, at that point, though, that individual's life or death could help someone else.
Yeah,
and
but
why
you're not thinking like that. You're not if you ever was stricken with a disease or ailment, you want to feel, you're not caring about how this affects the next person. You caring about how I personally feel.
So I'm not talking about when that person is gone. The body of the church. I'm talking about us as the church. If this happens on our watch, you are a part of my body, and this happens, I messed up, but I feel responsible now to take this mess up and use it to help somebody else.
I agree with that. I'm not arguing with that at all.
You just said the key thing. One body. We're one body, and we expect each individual organism within the body to do all the functions of the body. And I think that if we start to hone in on what our specialties are, and put the guards down on trying to be impressing to everybody and having a one-stop shop, focus on what you're good at. It's your ministry. If this ministry is a counseling ministry, this ministry is a teaching ministry, this ministry is a healing ministry, be that. When people in this ministry needs healing, refer them. So maybe I feel like we like he said, some plant, some water. God brings the increase. We don't get to decide who plants.
I agree.
And we don't get to decide who waters. And the tare grow with the wheat. So, because I'm feeling convicted about condemning the church because I am the church. At the same time, because I'm not feeling the church in some aspect. But we are the church, not the body.
We got to go to a commercial break. We're going to finish this when we come right back. This is our last commercial breaks. When we come back, we're going to end this conversation, and then we're going to get into next week's topic. Stay tuned, please, y'all, so we can have the benediction all together. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. Now here's one little speech I'm going to give you before I get into the next article. Here's what I want to tell you. Still, but fear is big business. Fear is big business. I'm not telling you not to be alarmed by what you're seeing. I'm not telling you not to be concerned. What I'm saying is not to buy into the notion that we should be afraid. You should be informed. You should be aware. You should start educating yourself about some things. I don't have the solutions. I don't have the answer. I wish I could say that if you did X, Y, and Z, you might not get shot by the police. I wish I could tell you that, but I can't. But what I can say is just start making yourself aware of what's going on, but don't be so consumed by what you're seeing that you become afraid, that you don't want to go out. Or you become numb. That's a good point, Nate. Nate said, or you become numb to it, like you just don't care. So we need you to just continue to be in touch with what's going on, but educate your family, talk to your sons, talk to your daughters, because it's not just limited to men. We know from Sandra Bland, she was a young woman who was killed. And we don't want to say, we don't know all the details behind what happened. No, the fact is that person's life still matters. They still have rights. They should not just be killed dead before they even get a trial. Okay, that's the point. They deserve a trial at least, but they can't even make it to the jail cell to get a trial, to be tried. They're being killed even before arrest. Terrible. So that's my soapbox.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
That they're not going to always do that,
We're back. No, that's fine. We do it all the time. We're back. Prior to the commercial break, we were talking about why I felt I was on my, I'm going to use your word, soapbox. I was on my rant about the responsibility that I felt the church should be taking when dealing with situations like suicide. And last year you was ending on about we taking, you feeling some kind of way about targeting the church.
We have to take accountability, period, for the church. Period.
We are.
As individuals.
Right, as individuals, because I am the church. We're the church, but I am the church. So what is my function and what is it that I can do? Because a lot of times, a lot of bad stuff that happens, we don't get to decide what bad stuff shouldn't have happened and what bad stuff wasn't meant for a purpose.
Right.
Because some of the stuff is meant for the purpose. For a purpose.
Agree.
The tail grows with the wheat, and God will decide at the end what needs to get cast away and burned and what doesn't. So we just have to focus on what gifts did God give me, and let me emphasize on that. Let me focus and grow on that, and maybe I can be of some type of assistance. We get so caught up in ourselves and how things make us feel, and we don't. We think that they should be doing. You should be doing this. No, you're supposed to do it. That's why you got the unction.
I agree.
That's exactly the point I was making.
And we were saying that during the commercial break, and like I said, this is not for. It's not targeting. For me, my passion is because I feel like we could be doing more. I want to honor the name. I want us to, to. I don't want this to happen anymore. And it's so heavy, and it's so current, and it's in our face, and it should hurt, and I should be ashamed, and I should feel some kind of way, and I should be looking for something that I can do, to honor that, and that's why we devoted 2 shows, to this, and that's why they did the musical. I just feel like I want us to step up. I want us to be responsible for our own, in the church. I want us to say no more. That's it. We're not going to let this happen on my watch without me at least putting forth some effort for it not to happen again.
But that all starts with the individual. And then if everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, that happens. That naturally will happen.
Day by day. That's it. Everybody do. My word, if as we said, if you don't take nothing else, just get through today. Seek some counsel. Seek some help. Just try to get through today. Tomorrow is new mercies. I always say it. New mercies.
Suicide hotline is posted. The mental illness awareness hotline is posted. So use them. Share them. Please. And I've been seeing that a lot more on Facebook with people posting the suicide hotline. Thank you so much for all those who tuned in and stayed with us for this benediction. Next week, a topic. We always have to kind of have something to make me like, oh, I don't want to say it. I'm scared. But it is what it is. Our topic, don't we all live in Houston? Why is their cry louder than ours?
Ooh, that's good.
Yep.
So I'm quite sure... We were talking about it.
No. I went to. I know we're about to end. I went to Walgreens and he said, "Do you want to donate to the flood in Houston?" And I said, "No, I need to donate to the flood in Baltimore."
Yep. So listen, I know that I'm gonna get we gonna get chewed out, but guess what? We're gonna talk about it anyway. Because I feel, and I look at Nate. He ready to battle. That's okay. All I'm saying. The conversation at the end of the day is everybody's crying out, and I'm not saying that it's not needed, and I will never say it's not needed because I know it is needed, but we need it here too. I can't give. I got 1 can that I'm stretching of food. I can use a couple of them cans from Red Cross right now. Truth be told,
we can't wait till stuff become devastation before we
exactly. So listen, next week. Tune in. Topic, don't we all live in Houston? Why is their cry louder than ours? Thank you so much for those who tuned in. Thank you to my guests, Mr. Nate from the Artist Exchange, Miss Naomi from Be Inspired Radio. She had an awesome show on last night. Your guest tuned in as well tonight, Mr. Squeaky.
Yeah,
thank you.
Popped in.
Thank you. I saw Mr. Squeaky. And of course, my co-host Lisha G. We will see y'all on next week, but we're gonna be online all week. Send us some messages on Sunset Soul page. We be reading them. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired Radio Show.
I'm just thankful this year